The whole store had gone quiet except for one sound. Coins, dimes and nickels and pennies spilling onto a checkout counter, one shaking handful at a time. A young mother stood at register 4 of a Walmart on the west side of Atlanta, counting change out of 3 sandwich bags while a line of strangers stacked up behind her.
Mommy, you don't need to buy any of this.
7 years old,
You're already
held the
beautiful
hem
in
of her
my
jacket
eyes.
and stared at his shoes. He didn't fidget. He didn't ask for candy. He just watched his mother's hands the way a child watches the sky when he's been taught that storms come without warning. And behind them both, a woman in designer sunglasses lifted her phone, turned the camera on the mother, and laughed loud enough for the entire front of the store to hear. Oh my God, are we really doing pennies right now? At 3 in the afternoon? She angled the shot for her followers. Food stamp fashion week, everybody. Somebody had to document it. The mother didn't look up. Her jaw tightened. Her hands kept counting. The total on the screen said $43.72. The coins on the counter did not, and 3 people back, hidden inside a gray hoodie, with the hood pulled up over her hair, a woman worth $3 billion stood frozen. She couldn't move, she couldn't breathe, because she had seen this exact moment before. Not on a screen, not in a memory she'd learned to keep at arm's length. She had lived it. 20 years ago, in a store just like this one, she had been the child holding the hem of the jacket. And the woman counting coins, that stranger she had never met, was about to say the words that had haunted Vivian Monroe her entire life. The 5 words that killed her mother. Stay with me, because what happened in the next 90 seconds cost one woman everything she had built, gave another woman everything she had lost, and it all started with a $4 tube of lipstick. Most people in America had heard the name Vivian Monroe, even if they didn't know her face. Halo Beauty was on every drugstore shelf in the country. Foundation in 40 shades, lipstick that didn't crack, a skincare line that cost less than a movie ticket. She had built it from a folding table at a flea market in the Vine City neighborhood, mixing shades by hand in her mother's kitchen, because the big brands only made 3 colors of brown and called it a full range. She was 43 now. She flew private. She had a home in Buckhead with a gate and a view, and more square footage than the entire apartment building she grew up in. But if you passed her on the street, you wouldn't look twice, and that was on purpose. She didn't do red carpets. She didn't chase magazine covers. She ran her company from a quiet office, where the only decoration was a single photograph on the desk, a woman in a diner uniform, tired eyes, real smile. Della Monroe, her mother. Della had worked 2 jobs for as long as Vivian could remember. Cleaning offices downtown from 5 in the morning until noon, then folding laundry at a hotel until close. She came home smelling like bleach and hot cotton, her feet swollen, her back bent, and every single night, no matter how late she walked through the door, she checked on her daughter and whispered the same thing. "You eat first, baby. Mama already ate." She never ate first. Not once. Not on 18 years of raising a daughter alone after Vivian's father left when Vivian was 4. Della served the plate, sat across the table with a cup of coffee, and watched her child eat, pretending she'd had something at work. Vivian believed her until she was 12. Then she started noticing the way her mother pushed food around a plate without lifting the fork, the way the last of the dinner ended up wrapped in foil in the refrigerator for tomorrow's lunch. Della gave everything she had and called it enough. She went without and called it fine. She died at 54. Congestive heart failure in a 1-bedroom apartment with $200 in the bank and a refrigerator holding milk she'd bought for a daughter who didn't live there anymore. The first man glanced at his buddy. She died 3 years before Halo Beauty made its first million. 3 years before Vivian could have moved her anywhere, bought her anything, sat her down and told her she never had to count another coin as long as she lived. 3 years too late. That was the kind of math you can't renegotiate. So, every year on the anniversary, Vivian disappeared. Her assistant Camille knew not to book meetings. She put on the gray hoodie that had survived since her 20s, drove her mother's old Buick that she kept insured and running for exactly this purpose, and she went back to Southview Cemetery, where she laid white carnations on the granite because Della always said they were the best flowers a poor woman could buy. Cheap, but they last, baby. Like us. Then she went to the Walmart. Not any Walmart. The one on the west side where her mother shopped every Thursday. She walked the aisles like a ghost visiting the living. Past the cereal. Past the produce where her mother squeezed avocados she'd never buy and said maybe next week. She never bought anything. She just remembered, and she left. But this year, she stopped, and she picked up a $4 tube of Halo lipstick from the display by the registers, the cheapest one she made, the one from a line she'd fought her own board to keep because it barely turned a profit. She called that line For Every Woman. She'd built it so a woman with nothing in her pocket could still walk past a mirror and feel like somebody. She was holding a lipstick when she got in line behind Renée Carter. Now, at Register 4, the coins had run out. The cashier, a heavy-set woman in her 50s named Loretta, with reading glasses on a chain, counted the pile twice. $40.55. Renée was $3.17 short, and the woman with the phone would not stop. "It's giving rock bottom," Brooke Calloway narrated to her camera, cackling. Note to self, this is why you get a real job. Brooke Calloway had 2 million followers. She reviewed makeup for a living, got flown to launches, wore free clothes she never gave back. And she had one more thing, though nobody in that line knew it yet. She was a paid brand ambassador for Halo Beauty. Her contract, signed 8 months earlier, was worth $250,000 a year. Her smiling face was in a Halo campaign running on a billboard 6 miles from where she stood. She was mocking a poor woman for buying the very product she was paid to sell. Renée's eyes moved across the belt. Cereal, the yellow box, the cheap one. Milk, peanut butter, the store brand. Bread, a bag of small apples, children's cough syrup, grape, a pack of socks, size 2. 2 composition notebooks. A little plastic race car, 99 cents. And 1 tube of lipstick, $4. The only thing in that entire cart that was for her and not for her son. Her hand went to the lipstick first. Of course it did. It was hers to give up. And a small hand caught her wrist. Elijah, 7 years old, looked up at his mother with eyes far too serious for his age. "Leave it, Mama," he whispered. "You're pretty. I don't need the car." The line went silent. Even Brooke lowered her phone half an inch. And 3 people back, Vivian Monroe felt something in her chest that had been welded shut for 12 years finally fold in half, because she'd been that boy. She'd stood in a store just like this one and watched her. Mother put back the one small thing she'd let herself have, and she'd learned, at 7 years old, that love was a thing you paid for by going without. She didn't think. She stepped forward, set her $4 lipstick on the belt next to Renée's groceries, and looked at Loretta. "Ring it all together," she said. "The car, too, and the lipstick's hers, not mine." Renée turned. Slow, the way a woman turns when she's learned that surprises usually come with a bill. She saw a stranger in a hoodie, no jewelry showing, no flash. "Ma'am, I don't need charity," she said, steady, practiced. "It's not charity," Vivian said, quiet enough that only Renée and Loretta could hear. "My mama used to buy her groceries from a store just like this, coin by coin, and she never bought one thing for herself either. The least I can do is finish what she started." Then she reached up, still holding the hood, and she looked at Brooke Calloway. "Put your phone down," Vivian said, not loud. But something in it made the whole line turn. "That's somebody's mother, and you don't know a single thing about her." Brooke rolled her eyes, hit stop, and posted the video before she even left the parking lot. Caption: "Some people should not be allowed at checkout." She had no idea she'd just filmed the last good day of her career. Vivian tapped a plain black card. Approved. Loretta bagged the groceries without a word, her eyes moving between the 2 women with the quiet understanding of someone who'd stood behind that register long enough to know which moments didn't need narrating. Thank you, Renee said. Her voice was small, cracked at the edges. Elijah grabbed the bag with the race car and the notebooks and held it against his chest like somebody might take it back. Vivian nodded. She didn't offer her name. She didn't ask for one. She just stepped aside and let them go. She should have left too. The ritual was done. But her feet wouldn't move because Renee had stopped at the automatic doors, knelt down beside Elijah and whispered something in his ear. Vivian was too far to hear it. She didn't need to. She followed them into the parking lot, 3 rows of cars between them, and she watched Renee buckle a sleeping toddler into the back of a silver Honda, held together with tape over one taillight. Elijah climbed in and looked at the bag beside him. Mama, can I have some crackers? I'm hungry. Renee pulled a sleeve of saltines from the bag and handed them back. Elijah tore it open, ate one, then held the sleeve out toward her. You want some? And Renée Carter, 29 years old, in a jacket too thin for the January wind, smiled at her son the way women have smiled at their children for 1,000 years and said the 5 words that stopped Vivian Monroe's heart. Mama already ate, baby. You go ahead. Vivian put a hand on the hood of the Buick and lowered her head. The parking lot was loud with carts and engines, but all she could hear was that voice, and underneath it, layered like a ghost on an old recording, her own mother's. Mama already ate, the same words, the same lies, wrapped in the same love, and for the first time in 12 years, her eyes burned. She pulled out her phone. Camille answered on the second ring. I need you to run something for me, Vivian said. A situation, not a background check. Employment, housing, education, everything. And I need it by morning. She read a license plate number off the silver Honda. This stays between us. Vivian knew the statistics. Her own foundation published them every year. 1 in 8 American households didn't know if dinner was coming. Single mothers were 5 times more likely to live below the poverty line. The average food benefit came out to about $2 a meal, and it ran out by the 3rd week of the month. She knew all of it. But numbers are one thing. Watching one breathe in front of you is another. Camille's file landed at 11 that night. Vivian read it in the dark with cold coffee at her elbow. Renée Carter, 29, born in Atlanta. Father gone before she turned 5, same story, same silence. Mother passed 6 years ago, died 53 years old, no savings, no insurance, just a daughter and a grandchild she'd helped raise between double shifts. 53, Della died at 54. 1 year apart, 2 women who never met, dying the same way, for the same reason, not from disease exactly. From the slow accumulation of always going last. Renee had graduated near the top of her class. She'd been accepted into the nursing program at Fulton Community College, made it 3 semesters. And her instructors had written 1 word in her file that made Vivian sit up. Exceptional. Then she got pregnant. The father promised to stay, then didn't. Same door, same silence. There is no affordable childcare for a newborn when you have no family and no partner. So Renee withdrew. She took 2 jobs. Prep cook by day, cleaning crew by night, the exact schedule Della had worked, almost hour for hour. She paid $1,100 a month for a studio, 70% of what she brought home. Elijah went home alone every afternoon and sat by himself for 2.5 hours. Because the after-school program cost $120 a month, and $120 was 4 days of groceries. And here was the part that made Vivian close the laptop and stare at a skyline she'd stopped being proud of. Renee qualified for a nursing scholarship the whole time. She qualified for a childcare voucher, for expanded food benefits, for expedited housing. Every one of those doors had been standing open for years. Nobody had ever told her where the handle was. The system wasn't broken. It was just built so the people who needed it most, the ones with the least time to figure it out, never found the map. The following Thursday, Vivian went back. Same hoodie, same Buick. She was gambling that a woman who counted coins into sandwich bags bought her groceries on the same day every week, because unpredictability is a luxury the poor can't afford. She found Renee in the dairy aisle, weighing a gallon of milk against a half-gallon with her eyes. "Excuse me," Vivian said. "I think we met at the register last week." Elijah saw her first. His face softened. "You're the lipstick lady." Vivian almost laughed. Almost. It caught in her throat like something she hadn't felt in years. She knelt down to the boy's level, the way her mother taught her, because the fastest way to a woman's trust is to speak to her child first. She asked Elijah what grade he was in. Second, she asked if he liked his teacher. He shrugged and said the after-school kids got to stay for snacks and he didn't. Vivian filed that away. "Let me buy you all lunch," she said to Renee. "There's a diner 2 blocks up, no agenda, just pancakes and bad coffee." The wall went up in Renee instantly. The architecture of pride Vivian had watched her own mother build 1,000 times. "It's just lunch," Vivian said. Elijah looked up with the careful hope of a child who'd learned to keep his wants small so they'd fit inside what his mother could carry. Renee exhaled. "Okay, just lunch." At the diner, Elijah ordered pancakes and the toddler, Grace, pointed at a picture of eggs and said, "The yellow ones," because nobody had taught her the word yet, just the color. Renee ordered coffee. Black, nothing else. "You're not eating," Vivian said. "I'm fine, I already." Renee stopped. The sentence hung there, half-born. Vivian didn't let it fall. She flagged the waitress. 2 more short stacks. 1 for her. She looked at Renee. "My mama used to say she already ate, every single day. Took me 25 years to understand she was lying every time to make sure I never went without." Renee's lips pressed together. Her eyes went bright. And then, slowly, she picked up the fork. She told him about the nursing program, about the word exceptional, about the 2 jobs and Elijah alone every afternoon. She didn't tell it like a tragedy. She told it like a list of walls she walked around every day. But Vivian heard the dream underneath, folded up and put in a drawer so deep, Renee had almost forgotten which drawer it was in. "What would you do," Vivian asked, "if you could go back?" "Finish my license," Renee said. "No pause, then work toward RN. I want to be in the clinics in neighborhoods like this where people can't afford to get sick but can't afford not to." "Okay," Vivian said. "Let me make a call." The scholarship was called the Rise Again Fund at Fulton Community College. Full tuition, books, clinical fees, built for exactly Renee's situation. Halo Beauty had endowed it 3 years earlier, and Vivian had never once imagined the money would carve a path for a specific woman she'd meet in a checkout line. But her mother always said, "Life has a longer memory than we give it credit for." Renee qualified. She had always qualified. The scholarship had been sitting there the entire time she scrubbed office floors at midnight. Vivian called that evening. "It's not charity," she said before Renee could put the wall up. "It's a scholarship you already earned. Somebody just needed to tell you it exists." Silence on the line, then a small, broken sound. "Why are you doing this?" Renee finally asked, and this time it wasn't suspicion. It was the question of a woman standing at the edge of something. "Because my mother spent her whole life qualifying for things nobody ever told her about," Vivian said. "And by the time I had the money to find them for her, she was already gone." The pieces connected like a chain that had been lying in the dirt all along. The scholarship unlocked the expedited housing. The housing freed up income. There was a child care voucher that extended Grace's daycare hours, and a free after-school program 6 blocks over where Elijah could get homework help, and a snack until 6:30 instead of sitting alone. Camille filed the paperwork. Every link already existed. The only thing missing had been someone who could see the whole chain at once. And Renee's building started to change around her. Not the walls, the people. Miss Ruby Dawn, 68, retired from the school cafeteria after 30 years, lived 1 floor up. She'd watched Renee rush that hallway with a baby on her hip for 2 years. One Tuesday, as Renee tried to calculate whether she had enough gas to make it to class and back, Miss Ruby appeared in the doorway. "Give me the baby," she said. "Not a question. Go to school. Bring her up when you get home." She never took $1. Child, I fed other people's kids for 30 years. This one I feed for free. But while Renée was rising, another story was falling apart across town. Brooke Calloway's video had gone viral, just not the way she planned. She posted it expecting laughs. Instead, the internet turned on her like a tide. Millions of people watched a woman in sunglasses mock a mother counting coins in front of her hungry child, and they were disgusted. The comment filled with people who had been that mother, been that child. Someone found the moment a stranger in a hoodie stepped in and told her to put her phone down, and that clip went even wider than the original. And then the story reached the one desk Brooke never imagined it would. Vivian Monroe watched the video in her office 3 days later, and she went very still, because she recognized two things at once. The woman being mocked was Renée, and the woman doing the mocking was on Halo Beauty's payroll. Brooke Calloway, $250,000 a year. Her face on a billboard 6 miles from that store, under the words "for every woman." Vivian didn't rage. She'd built an empire by knowing exactly when not to. She called her legal team, then her communications team, and by the next morning, Halo Beauty released a statement. It didn't name Renée. It didn't have to. Halo Beauty was founded by a woman who grew up counting coins in a grocery line. Our mission has always been that every woman, regardless of what is in her wallet, deserves to feel seen. Cruelty toward the women we serve is the opposite of everything this company stands for. Effective immediately, Brooke Calloway is no longer a partner of Halo Beauty. We wish her the growth she clearly still needs. It's signed off with the founder's name, Vivian Monroe. The whole world found out in the same instant that the anonymous woman in the hoodie who'd stepped forward in that checkout line was the billionaire who built the very lipstick in the cart. For Brooke, the ground gave way. Every brand she worked with dropped her within a week, because no company wanted to be the one standing next to the woman who'd mocked a poor mother. Her follower count went into free fall. The billboards came down. The launches stopped inviting her. She had built a career on being admired, and in 7 days she watched it turn to ash. And the worst part was that she couldn't blame anyone but herself, because the evidence was in her own voice, in a video she'd filmed and posted with her own hands. She did the only thing left. She went looking for the truth, and the truth gutted her. She learned who the woman in the hoodie was. She learned that the mother she'd humiliated had been buying Halo's cheapest line, the one built so women with nothing could still feel like somebody. She learned that the $4 lipstick she'd sneered at existed because Vivian Monroe had fought her own board to keep it on the shelf. She had been paid $250,000 to represent a brand whose entire soul she had spit on in 90 seconds. Brooks sat with that for a long time. And somewhere in the wreckage of everything she'd lost, something in her finally broke open, the way it should have broken open in that checkout line. She thought about the boy holding his mother's wrist. She thought about her own laugh, how easy it had been, how she'd turned a woman's worst moment into content without ever once seeing her as a person. She wrote a letter, not a public statement, a real letter. She sent it to Halo Beauty's office and asked them to forward it because she didn't know Renée's name and didn't deserve to. In it, she didn't ask for forgiveness or her career back. She wrote that she had spent years pointing a camera at people to feel above them, and that a 7-year-old boy had understood dignity better in one sentence than she had in 30 years. She wrote that she was ashamed, and that shame was the first honest thing she'd felt in a long time. She started volunteering at a food pantry on the West Side, quietly. No camera. Nobody there knew who she used to be, and for the first time, that was exactly what she wanted. 14 months after that Thursday, at the register, Renée Carter walked across a stage at Fulton Community College and received her nursing license. The auditorium had folding chairs and water stains on the ceiling tiles and an air conditioner that competed with the applause. It was not a grand ballroom, but to Renée, in a blue gown she'd ironed at 5 that morning, It was the most important room she'd ever walked into. Elijah sat in the front row, 8 years old now. In a white shirt he'd buttoned himself, collar slightly crooked because he refused help. When they called his mother's name, he clapped with both hands over his head, like he was trying to make the ceiling hear. Grace sat on Miss Ruby's lap and clapped because everyone else was. And 3 rows back, in a plain jacket with no jewelry showing, sat a woman nobody recognized, and that anonymity was the most comfortable thing she'd worn in years. Afterward, in the crowded hallway, Renée found Vivian near the water fountain. She didn't say thank you. She'd said it too many times for the word to hold what she meant. Instead, she reached into the pocket of her gown and pulled out a small white envelope. "This is for you." Vivian opened it. Inside were bills and coins, counted out exact, $43.72, and a folded piece of composition paper, the small, neat handwriting she'd know anywhere by now. "For the next mama who says she already ate." Vivian's throat locked. The woman who ran a $3 billion empire and never lost her composure in a boardroom stood in a community college hallway holding $43.72 and could not speak. Elijah appeared, weaving through the crowd, and tugged the hem of her jacket. "Miss Vivian, my mama made dinner. She said you have to come, and you have to eat, because she knows you skip meals too." Vivian laughed. Not the polished laugh from Gallus. A real one. The kind that breaks loose from a place that's been closed so long you forget the door exists. Renée stood at the end of the hallway, Grace on her hip. "You eat first this time," she called out, grinning. "I already ate." And there it was, the same 5 words. But for the first time, they weren't a lie. They weren't a sacrifice hidden behind a smile. They were a joke, a warm, earned joke between 2 women who knew exactly what those words had cost every mother who'd ever said them and meant the opposite. Vivian smiled back, and something in her chest that had been frozen since a 1-bedroom apartment and $200 in the bank, and a woman who gave everything and called it enough, finally, after 12 years, thawed. She didn't save Renée Carter. She opened a door Renée was already strong enough to walk through. The $43 was never the gift. The gift was being seen, truly seen, by someone who recognized the sacrifice because she'd watched it consume the person she loved most. This story is fiction, but the systems in it are real. Food insecurity touches 1 in 8 households in America. The nursing shortage runs into the hundreds of thousands. Housing waitlists stretch for years. And scholarships built for people exactly like Renée go unclaimed every single year because the people who qualify never learn they exist. Every one of those doors can be found with a single search. Every one of them can change a life if the right person finds it at the right time. I wrote this because the most dangerous lie in poverty isn't "I can't afford it." It's "Mama already ate." It's the lie a parent tells so a child never has to feel the weight of what's missing. It's the lie that keeps a family standing while the person holding it up slowly disappears. If you know someone like that, someone who counts coins, who skips meals, who buys everything for their kids and nothing for themselves, don't look away. Don't walk past. See them. That is where everything starts.